Welcome to MojoTalks. I'm Eric, and joining me today we have a killer panel. Manny, Rebecca, how you guys doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
We're talking about Spielberg, and he stepped in it a little bit.
I think so.
Well, so I mean, he's doing his press tour for Ready Player One, which, by the way, our review is up right now. You can see it
Wink,
online.
wink.
And he went about talking about Netflix and saying how movies on Netflix don't deserve to be in the running for Oscars. What do we think of this?
Fun fact is that this is classic internet nonsense where they've taken a comment that he said and twisted it up to make it
That
sound
doesn't
like
happen
that.
on the internet.
I know, it's shocking. You
Yeah.
heard it here first.
On the internet.
So basically, he pretty much said that Hollywood is not taking risks anymore with the stuff they want to do. So all these big movies that get greenlit, like Ready Player One, all these Marvel movies, all these DC movies, regardless if they're good or not, and they won't be in the running for Oscars, he's just mad that they would rather take a risk on a safe bet than take a risk on something like an indie movie and give it that budget it needs to succeed and become one of these quote-unquote blockbuster Oscar winners.
Right, but you know, he basically says that the chances aren't taken on the smaller films. What happens is those become Netflix originals. Is that a fair assessment? Are we seeing a divide between blockbusters going to theaters and everything else goes onto Netflix?
Well,
I wouldn't say that. I don't know.
Well, it's the same thing happened in the 50s, right? So when TVs got to everybody's house, everybody's like, hey man, why would I go to the theater when I could watch whatever I want, quality programming
Yeah, and all
on
the
my
old
TV?
guys were like, TV's never going to last, so good luck with that, Steven
So
Spielberg.
TV disrupted movies, and now...
Well, I don't think it disrupted movies. I think it created its own thing. And this is the same case for Netflix versus like theater movies. I don't even know what to call them. Traditional old media, big blockbuster movies. I think Netflix will create a disruption. It will probably create its own niche where there will be streaming films that are just as worthy of Oscars. If they're a full-length movie that was created in the same manner as any other movie, I don't see why it should preclude them from getting Oscars.
Well, a couple of examples. I mean, if you look at Beasts of No Nation, that was it nominated? It was nominated.
I think
Didn't win, but it was
so,
nominated.
yeah.
Mudbound was nominated this year. So there have been Netflix originals. Let's be honest. Netflix original movies on the whole haven't been so great.
I think
He
that
called
The
them glorified
Outsider-
TV movies.
I think that The Outsider was probably one of the better films. That is a lie. That movie was super boring.
Okay, right, exactly. We talked about that recently. But Gerald's Game. That's
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't nominate it for an Oscar, but it was fabulous.
Great movie.
Well, let me ask you where you stand on this, because you're a huge Spielberg fan, but when you read this article, you were like,
It's starting to sound old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This happens to a lot of, great filmmakers, people, or just great people in their industry. Sometimes they get a bit old, and then they get a bit out of
Complacent
touch.
and lazy
Well, I
and-
don't want to call them complacent or lazy. It just seems like, okay, you're starting. You maybe I don't.
No,
I don't,
okay,
I don't
I'm not
even wanna
putting
say,
this-
I don't even want to say like maybe he should hang it up because I don't think that.
No, because Ready Player One is pretty cool.
Exactly.
Right.
I haven't seen it. Whatever. It's fine.
You will.
I know. I have tickets already. But all this to say, yeah, he's just kind of sounding old.
Well, speaking about like other people sounding kind of old, Christopher Nolan also said a similar
Right. Yeah.
thing to where his problem was more that he didn't like the way Netflix handles it. So
Their
to
strategy
That's
their
of-
strategy.
story.
So to be nominated for an Academy Award in a movie, your movie has to have a theatrical run. So what Netflix would do is that they would just throw it into a few theaters and be like, here's our movie, and they would have it play for like 6 weeks, then pull the movie and just really, but they would do that at the same time.
6 weeks, maybe it's less. Sometimes
It could be
6
less
days.
sometimes, yeah. And they would do that at the same time as it would drop on the platform. Now, if you look at something like Amazon, when they have an original movie that they'd like to give it a theatrical run, they put it in theaters, and then they have the exclusive distribution rights to it afterwards. So what that does is that it gives the movie kind of like a moment to get its own legs moving and build a buzz, and then when it drops on Amazon, everybody's like, okay, maybe I'll just go get an Amazon Prime account. I think what Steven Spielberg is trying to say is that you make a movie, you want to win an Oscar, you gotta pay your dues, and you gotta go through the theater time, you gotta promote it, you gotta market it, you gotta go out there, you gotta go to the festivals, you gotta be like,
Yeah, but
do the
he's
press
already
junket.
established, and it's easy for him to say. He's never needed a Netflix to get his films distributed.
That's a good
Well,
point.
Steven Spielberg did kind of steal his job at Paramount. right? The classic story where he pretended to be an intern for like 6 months before people figured
like
out.
this wouldn't work today.
No, it wouldn't work today.
It would be a funny movie, though, right?
I think it would be a
I'm pretty
great
sure
movie.
there are like 17 of these movies. But
But I just think that, yes, it's a different time, and he did get his chance. Netflix is giving chances to people, which is great, and more undiscovered filmmakers and more people like different filmmakers from actually all over the world, which is what makes Netflix a great platform. I just think if they really want to be taken serious by, well, let's be honest, the Academy it's a bit of monkey business right now, So they're like all over the place. I'll be honest, it's a bit up and down monkey business, but
We should have a new series
That's
called
another
Monkey
movie.
Business.
there is a process that they should do, and I think Netflix should respect that if they want to win Academy Awards. That's kind of the point, right? You got to pay your dues, you got to pay off the right people, and you got to win that Academy Award, just like everybody does.
should the Academy change their process?
Right. In other words, is
Good
this
argument.
a situation of adapt or die? So Netflix comes in, it does disrupt, it's changing the landscape, and so the idea is, do movies need to play in theaters to get those legs?
That's my question.
Or can they be released simultaneously on Netflix and in theaters, and you watch them where you want, but if they're good enough, they win the award?
To me, a movie is a movie.
I agree, a movie is a movie,
But
but classic dick move, agreeing with the term and then moving on. I just find that we had this problem when TV happened and we created the Emmys. So maybe
And he even said
and he goes,
they shouldn't
"It's
win
okay,
Oscars, they should win
Oscars
Emmys."
for Emmys, but they shouldn't win. They should win Emmys for their shows, but not Oscars, which in itself is a bit contradictory because it's not on TV,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah, I know.
look, we created the Emmys to get TV shows and the people who work on TV shows who work just as hard, if not harder than a movie, right? And like you're creating a 13-episode series, that's a lot more work than creating a movie. Like especially from a writer's standpoint, from a showrunner standpoint, there's a lot going on for that. And you're stretching out the story over these episodes. I just think that if you really want to be animated for an Academy Award, it is an old school way of thinking. Adapt or die, I find, is a bit not the right term to use here.
Another
but
movie concept right there.
I really just think that if they want to be taken seriously, release your film in theaters. You want to run for an Oscar, do it. Release your film, let it play in theaters, and guess what? There is no home video, but it's available only on Netflix. Take a page out of Amazon's book, and let's move on. And you want to win your award, play the game.
But why does it need to be in theaters? Just because they say so?
Just because the Academy says so.
That's shenanigans.
That's trying to
That's
win.
monkey business right there.
But that's trying to win an award. Then it doesn't matter if it wins or not if it's a great movie, right?
Yeah,
so
but
who
here's the
cares if
thing.
it wins the Academy Award or not if it's not playing by the rules that
yeah,
qualify
I'd love to
you
say
to
who
win?
cares, but everybody cares.
Who wins an Academy Award, but maybe less and less. Maybe the whole point is that Netflix, the disruption of Netflix is such that Academy Awards will be less and less important. And
I doubt it. I don't see that happening.
I guess it remains to be seen. Ultimately, though, what are we really saying? Like, are movies any better or worse if they can be nominated for an Academy Award? I don't know. You're pro Spielberg on this. You're anti Spielberg
And
on
also-
this.
Don't call me anti-Spielberg.
on this issue. Is that a fair assessment?
Sure.
Do we
I
want to
think
know
it's
what
a fair
they think?
assessment. Sure.
Okay. No, you were going to say?
Also, like a lot of movies that have won Academy Awards are like not great movies. Like we've made 150 lists on this channel about Academy Award snubs, and the award should have went to this guy, should have went to that guy. So does it really matter? Like you said, a movie is a movie, and a great movie is a great movie. Terminator 2, Judgment
But
Day,
we all
greatest
still
movie of all
use
time.
the Academy Awards as like
the benchmark.